Canto, chapter 13, the Dhritarashtra's quits home, so we're coming towards the end. And then the next chapter is the disappearance of Lord Krishna. So we're on verse 54. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskatyam Namam Chaiva Narottamam Devam Sarvatim Vyasam Nato Vetirayat Nastaprayashva Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Udamashloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki Jitāsano jita-śvāsaḥ pratyāhṛta-ṣaḍ-indriyaḥ hari-bhāvanayā dhvasta rajaḥ-sattva-tamo-malaḥ. One who has controlled the sitting postures, the yogic āsanas, and the breathing process can turn the senses toward the Absolute Personality of Godhead and thus become immune to the contaminations of the modes of material nature, namely mundane goodness, passion, and ignorance. Purport by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada. The preliminary activities of the way of yoga are asana, pranayam, pratyāhṛta, dhyana, dharana, etc. Maharaj Dhritarashtra was to attain success in these preliminary actions because he was seated in a sanctified place and was concentrating upon one objective, namely the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Hari. Thus all his senses were being engaged in the service of the Lord. This process directly helps the devotee to get freedom from the contaminations of the three modes of material nature. Even the highest mode, the material mode of goodness, is also a cause of material bondage. And what to speak of the other qualities, namely passion and ignorance. Passion and ignorance increase the material propensities of hankering for material enjoyment, and a strong sense of lust provokes the accumulation of wealth and power. One who has conquered these two base mentalities and has raised himself to the platform of goodness, which is full of knowledge and morality, cannot also control the senses, namely the eyes, the tongue, the nose, the ear, and the touch. But one who has surrendered himself unto the lotus feet of Lord Hari, as above mentioned, can transcend all influences of all the modes of nature, material nature, and be fixed in the service of the Lord. The Bhakti Yoga process therefore directly applies the senses in the loving service of the Lord, and this prohibits the performer from engaging in material activities. This process of turning the senses from material attachment to the loving transcendental service of the Lord is called pratyāhṛta, and the very process is called pranayam, ultimately ending in samadhi or absorption in pleasing the Supreme Lord Hari by all means. Amagana timiranda syagana jana shalakya chaksharan militam yana tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Svayam Rupakadamayam Dadati Svapadantikam Namo Vishnubhadaya Krishna Bastaya Bhutale Shrimani Satsrutas Goswami Nityanamane Namo Vishnubhadaya Krishna Bastaya Bhutale Shrimani Bhakti Vedanta Swami Nityanamane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharine Nirvishesha Shanyavadi Paschata Deshatarine. So here we can see Srila Prabhupada again really emphasizing the point whereby we become servants of Krishna. We use our senses in the service of Krishna. We develop a service mentality to Krishna with our senses, and thereby we could become absorbed in pleasing Krishna. The opposite to that is that we try to eke out some sort of enjoyment with our senses in the material world. It's not a good idea. It's an idea that we've tried probably millions of times in millions of lifetimes, trying to get some little enjoyment out of the 8,400,000 species of life. Somehow in all of these species there is some little enjoyment, different enjoyment from the last time. And so Krishna has set up the phantasmagoria for that opportunity for us who don't want to please Krishna. We want to try to enjoy separate from Krishna. Krishna set up all of these different phantasmagorical situations, and we keep on coming back to try to enjoy here. Now we might say, okay, well then I won't do it. That is easier said than done. First is that we have to get some knowledge of God, knowledge of who God is, knowledge of who we are, and therefore we'll get knowledge of why it's not a good idea to stick around here and try to enjoy. We'll get knowledge to, we'll actually get a feeling of loving God. You notice I found that hard to say. Well, the reason is because it is a commodity that is not very prominently there in my heart, because it is a relationship that we're trying to develop there with God, and that one has to be loving. It's a loving relationship. Duryodhana Guru Prabhu will be giving a talk on love on Sunday, in the Sunday talk. So this is, I'm sure this will be a topic that he will address. How, because he has that in his own heart. So this love is something which we need to develop. If it's not there, I'm sure anyone who's listening here will have a good modicum of love in their heart. Some of us have to try a bit harder. We have to really kind of rattle the cages to try to see if there's anything there. But that's what this whole process is called: devotional service, or loving devotional service to Krishna, bhakti yoga. So this is where this verse comes in, the very strong verse which I've been quoting a lot of late. Tate no kamam susamikshimano. And then I'll just read the rest of it. Bhajan evatma kritam vipakam ridvag vapurbir vidadam namaste jiveta no mukti pado sadayabak. And it's a very important verse because it kind of gives us some hope and gives us some direction of, even if we've been practicing devotional service for a long time, it gives us hope because it tells us to in that sense, to hang on in there. You know, why? Because Krishna is there and will bring us mercy. I've been talking in the class about not having love for Krishna, but that love is actually descending. It's coming from Krishna as well. So the fact that we can't manufacture it or get it by our own attempts, nevertheless, Krishna will, even if we can't get it by our own attempts, Krishna will actually give this. It's a descending process, and we will actually experience this love. And we will. I'm not saying that I'm a completely dry stone. Yeah, I mean, there is times when, you know, just by the sheer power of devotional service, that one actually experiences, can get some experience of what it is to love God. But let me just go through this verse. My dear Lord, one who earnestly waits for you to bestow your causeless mercy upon him. So there's a few words there. I'm not sure of all the Sanskrit definitions, but one who earnestly waits for you to bestow your causeless mercy upon him. So this is what I'm talking about, you know. We're waiting for Krishna to bestow his causeless mercy. So what's the next one? All the while patiently suffering the reactions of his past misdeeds. So usually when in our life we consider our anartas, or that means the bad qualities, we consider them good qualities. That's the perverted nature of this world. We think the desire to get on, dog eat dog, get your own way, be your own person, stamp on everybody else's head. That's a good quality. Oh yes, he's got on in the world. Yes, he's been very successful. what does that actually mean? Does it mean that you've successfully been able to control your mind and senses, or does it mean that you've managed to get money one way or the other? I was listening to a talk recently on the Kali Yuga, and it talked about business, and the only way that you can get on, the quality of getting on in business is deceit. So deceit, that means that you'd adopt any means for success. It's characterized by, you see a lot of the time in these pharmaceutical companies that they've messed up, but yet they will drag on court cases for years and years and years and years, and then eventually at the end, after 20 years or something, when everybody's forgotten what it was about, they'll end up having to pay some money. But in the meantime, they'll have produced millions of other drugs in order to keep themselves afloat. Same with the banking sector. We often hear of the bankers, they've been fined 10 billion for something that they've done wrong by the regulator. But they were prepared to accept that 10 million or billion fee because they've worked out lots of other methods in which they're cheating. So the whole world is kind of like the standard of deceit is huge. So why did I get into that? Well, all the while patiently suffering the reactions of his past misdeeds. There's not really a direct link I had a link initially, but at the same time, it is in the same ballpark, shall we say. Our own misdeeds, our own anomalies are kicking in all the time. Even if we've been practicing for many, many years, we can't just uproot that, the Bhagavatam, it uproots the desire for material desire just by hearing. This process of hearing the dormant desires for material enjoyment are uprooted, or tesham chantukatam papam. I mean, that's 7:28 in the Bhagavad Gita, where it says that you actually you've given up the material activities have been taken away basically, and you go on practicing your spiritual life. 7:28. It's a great state to be in, and it's something which we actually obviously always aspire for. Tesham twantakatam papam jnanam yesham twantakatam papam jnanam punya karmam te dvandamahon mukta bhajan timam tritadva. Persons who have acted piously in previous lives and in this life, and whose sinful actions are completely eradicated, are free from the dualities of delusion, and they engage themselves in my service with determination. So they're eradicated, but they engage themselves in service with determination. So, but then we must then see that here it said that we go on patiently suffering the reactions of our past misdeeds. So there's a kind of an interesting dynamic there, where we're trying to get onto the stage where we've uprooted everything and we engage with determination in Krishna's devotional service, and that's what's been spoken about here, absorption and pleasing the Supreme Lord. But my point is that we're still suffering from the previous activities because we're not purified. I'm speaking again about myself. I'm speaking about the dryness that might be there. But you do it, you patiently suffer that, because it comes and goes. This is the point. Even if the sinful activities are still kind of popping up, or if the meditations on them, or the remnants, the dregs of what's there from our previous activities, even if it comes before us and we're practicing sincerely, we just let them come and go. We're not attached to them. They're there and they go. Don't be amazed by the fact that they're still there, and so, oh, this is horrible, I'm still a rotten person. Forget about it, you know. It comes and goes. Just keep on steady. This is the point of this verse. This is why this is such an amazing verse, because it gives us clarity from where we're at, you know, where we're at. And therefore we don't get despondent. And we become determined. Just as it said, Tesham Twantakatam Papam, engage in my service with determination. This is Prabhupada is saying here as well. That we absorption in pleasing the Supreme Lord instead of pleasing our senses. I mean, we may start off the day just absorbed in trying to please our senses. But it doesn't matter. You'll keep on going. Keep on studying. Hear Bhagavad Gita every day. Read a chapter a day. Read more than a chapter a day. Keep on reading Bhagavad Gita, and then we'll actually get to the stage which has been spoken about here for Dhritarashtra, in that he's been. This is a verse been spoken by Narada to Yudhishthira, explaining the situation where Dhritarashtra is. Now, Dhritarashtra was the most sinful of sinful active characters. Like, he performed the most heinous activities to Krishna's devotees, and yet he associated with the most heinous characters, Shukuni and his son, you know, and what to speak of Karna as well, I suppose you could say. But he associated with these people, and therefore he had the most lowest of character. But it was, he had the look that he was able to associate with Vidura, and this is which is happening here. Vidura is giving him some blessings, and he's brought him aside. He's given him better association. Now he's on his own. He's meditating in the forest, and this is what Narada is explaining, that Dhritarashtra is here. He's meditating in the forest. Now, to be honest with you, I've never found this a very wonderful part of Bhagavad Gita or of Bhagavatam, because, you know, Dhritarashtra's done all this crap. You know, he's done all this nonsense. He's put people through such hell on earth, and he's still whimpering away. You know, this is the mood that I get. But still, he's been saved. You know, I mean, himself and Ashvatam are two of the most difficult characters to deal with in the whole Bhagavatam. You know, Ashvatam. I mean, you've got Jayadratha as well as another horrible character, you might say. But anyway, they're all getting liberation. I'm not sure about Ashvatam. I don't know what his state is. I don't want to even go there anyway. But Dhritarashtra is getting the mercy here, and actually he's, you know, from all intents and purposes, I think it's said that he attains liberation. But Prabhupada is definitely indicating here, and Narada is actually indicating here, that he's getting probably more than liberation. I mean, he's associated with Krishna, you know, didn't die on the battlefield, but he's associated with a pure devotee, Vidura. So what more, you know. Now Vidura as well seems to be giving him certain amounts. I mean, at the very end, is Dhritarashtra engaging in service? This is Prabhupada in purport is making this point, that the preliminary activities of the way of yoga are asana, pranayama, pratyāhṛta, and so on. Dhritarashtra was to attain success in these preliminary actions because he was seated in a sanctified place and was concentrating upon the objective, namely the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Thus all his senses were being engaged in the service of the Lord. So who am I to judge how Dhritarashtra succeeded? I mean, okay, he's in the Bhagavad Gita. I mean, you can't get there by, you know, you have to be pretty special to get into the Bhagavad Gita, even if you're on the opposing side, like Dhritarashtra or like Duryodhana himself. But he was there, and he did get onto that. So it seems to be indicating in this verse. I'm not going to go to other verses, but it seems to be indicating that Dhritarashtra was successful, and he was actually performing devotional service to Krishna. So was his brother getting him to leave the place and go and meditate in the forest? Yes, that's what he was doing. But this was the process that was in previous lifetimes. I mean, in not so much today. Not so many people go to the forest today. I mean, living in a temple is probably that's the best we can do. I think, or living in the country, is the mode of goodness. But so Dhritarashtra was in this situation, and Vidura had convinced him to do this, and so therefore he was listening to his brother. He definitely shows he's listening, because he left when his brother told him the horrific, the abominable situation he was in, and so now he's following his brother's instruction. Finally, Dhritarashtra does something that somebody else tells him to do. He's finally doing it, and so he's making a lot of progress now. Tishan Twantakatam problem. Has he got to the highest stage of samadhi, absorption in Krishna? Well, it seems that he's definitely been in that state, or he's definitely trying to get there. But at the same time, probably the purport uses the word preliminary. And then it says, this process directly helps the devotee to get freedom from contamination of the three modes. So that's maybe in an initial stage. I mean, Bhagavad Gita, I'll take the places very quickly if you wanted to study them. 4th chapter, 26 to 38, that talks about all, one goes to a secluded place, or that's in the 6th chapter actually. But that's talking about engaging the mind in samadhi, basically. And even Arjuna says, but to practice this seems to be difficult. Krishna, my mind is very, disturbed. How can I do all of this? But the reason I'm bringing that up is that in Bhagavad Gita it's mentioned, and Krishna says it is possible through constant practice and detachment, and by working by appropriate means. So this is what Vidura is telling him to do, telling Dhritarashtra to do. So this is the process that's been espoused in the Bhagavad Gita, to go to a sacred place, to lay kushagas on the ground, to absorb the mind in Krishna. Taking the objects away, and then Krishna says then one becomes happy within, and in a beautiful purport, Prabhupada in 524, Prabhupada says that this is how we actually this pleasure within. This is how we don't become absorbed in outside things, material sense enjoyment. Let's talk about that. There's 4 verses in Bhagavad Gita which talk about this happiness within, and very, very nice to hear actually. In this stage of perfection called trance or samadhi, one's mind is completely restrained from material mental activities by practice of yoga. This perfection is characterized by one's ability to see the self by the pure mind, and to relish and rejoice in the self. So that's why this knowledge is so important. But when we have the knowledge, then we engage in the activity of devotional service, and then we experience the bliss, basically. In that joyous state, one is situated in boundless transcendental happiness, realized through transcendental senses. Established thus, one never departs from the truth, and when upon gaining this, he thinks there's no greater gain. Being situated in such a position, one is never shaken, even in the midst of the greatest difficulty. This indeed is actual freedom from all miseries arising from material contact. And then, it's 25. Oh, Krishna, where is it? Um, 524 plus purport. Well, you could say, listen, all around that 5th chapter, towards the end, is talking about the happiness within. And then Prabhupada in the purport, which I actually wrote down wrongly there, Prabhupada in the purport says that if you're happy within, then you're not going to be looking for enjoyment outside of yourself. And then the what comes from that then is you become practiced to be happy within. You become satisfied. You practice satisfaction, and so you're not looking for any kind of stimulus from outside, and that's characterized in this verse from the Bhagavatam, which talks about you patiently suffering reactions, but you all the while offering your respectful obeisances within the heart's word and body. So all the while offering respectful obeisances unto Krishna. So you're going about your business, right? You're minded somewhat of your past misdeeds, but still you're not worried about it because you're just still offering respectful obeisances constantly within your heart to Krishna. You realize you don't care about what's happening to you or your mental activities or reactions or whatever from your past. You don't care about that. You just keep on offering obeisances to Krishna from within. You're just totally fixed on offering obeisances to Krishna. You don't see anything which comes along as being, oh my God, why is Krishna doing this to me? No, you just see it as part of your reaction to your past misdeeds. You're not looking to blame Krishna for anything. You're only seeing this is all happening because of my rascaldom for being here in this world. But still, I know that Krishna is going to look after me. This is the beginnings of love of God. You know, I know that Krishna is going to look after me. I know He's taking care of me despite everything that's happening. Krishna has me. Krishna has my back, as the saying is. Krishna is looking after me. He's bringing me. He's gradually bringing me further and further back to the spiritual world, and even if we don't have the mercy there and then, we're just going to wait. We know Krishna's going to give it to us. We know Krishna's going to look after us, you know, and that's where the love is, because then we have actual love of God, you know. We actually love God then, you know, and that's really what it's about, loving God. That's really what the real bottom line. And even if we don't love God, at least we try to practice loving God. That's what we do initially. But when we do that after a while, we will see that we will grind out some love in our heart, and then it becomes quite ecstatic, you know, that love within, you know, that we have within for Krishna, and that becomes more prominent. And we're not worried about the material world so much. But actually, very interestingly, that will be seen, how much love you have, by how you treat others. Do you know? How you love others. Your love for me will be shown in different ways, Prabhupada said, but how you love others, you know, how you actually care for others. Do you really care for others? Or do you really only care for yourself? You know, are you really motivated for your own enjoyment? I mean, we have to look after the self. There's no doubt about it. You can't go around. We're not, you know, flagellists beating ourselves around. Oh, you know, mea culpa. I'm guilty all the time. No, but we want to actually please others, though. That's really, we're caring for others. That's it. You know, we're caring for others. So this will be, you know, as I said, you're absorbed with Krishna within. You're waiting for Krishna's causeless mercy. You're loving God because you realize how amazing God is, that despite all the millions and billions of times we turned away from Him, Krishna's trying to actually also, Krishna's also, because Krishna never rejects us, or He never neglects us, but He actually tries to bring us along. So this is why it's amazing. One of our favorite devotees, of course, is Tribhuvanath Prabhu. Anybody who's known him, and he never ever rejected people. You know, it was quite amazing. As bad as we were, even if we did things to him, like, you know, I understood later that I maybe acted not so well towards him. So some people have kind of not really even told me, but have indicated that, and on different occasions. But he never actually held it against me as well, which is quite incredible. So that's just an amazing, and it's still there now. You know, those relationships are eternal relationships. You know, and therefore you feel more obliged to these great devotees, to help, serve them, and in their mission. Now, what to speak of Srila Prabhupada? You know, what to speak, like we can see how dedicated. We have Jayapataka Maharaj, you know, in the throes, the 1% chance of survival from his stroke, and he survived. And then 10 years later, he's helping and distributing to small little places in rural Ireland that he was once or twice. He's thinking about it because he knows that that's what Prabhupada wants every place to succeed. You know, you can see it in his life. It's an amazing dedication. You won't get that. I mean, Bhakti-tirtha Maharaj talked about him in such amazing terms. He was just, you could see by the way Bhakti-tirtha Maharaj was talking about him that he was just amazed. He had never seen such dedication. That was even before Maharaj had his illness, so this is what I'm saying. We see it in these devotees who are completely sold out to serving Prabhupada. They're sold out to serving Prabhupada. There's nothing they won't do to try to serve Prabhupada in a good sense, And they so we're lucky to get the mercy of the devotees. This is what the mercy of the devotees means. We learn how to live our lives. We get we get some sort of, just some little taste. And so this is one point I'm making about Tribhuvan Prabhu. It doesn't matter how fallen we are. And this comes back to the Tate Kumbham verse as well. And look at Dhritarashtra. I mean, you look at the situation, how fallen he tried to kill Krishna's pure devotees. And Krishna still, his brother is still trying to drag him back. So we're maybe not as bad as that, but we're still the lowest of the low. We've left Krishna for millions of lifetimes, just ignored Krishna, trying to get our own enjoyment. And Krishna has allowed us to get in that enjoyment, but we're contaminated by that sense of trying to enjoy separately from Krishna. We're contaminated by that. So don't worry about it that if it still manifests. If we still have love for Krishna and go on still trying to pray to Krishna from within, knowing that Krishna will save us, not in the sense that we don't perform any activities like, oh, Krishna will save me, therefore I join this religion, Krishna will save me. No, we go on praying to Krishna. We go on patiently suffering the reactions of misdeeds, offering obeisances with the heart, the heart, just offering obeisances with the heart, just depending on Krishna, just completely depending on Krishna. Then Krishna will bring us out. This is what Prabhupada says at the end. We'll become absorbed in Krishna. We'll become actually absorbed in Krishna, and then we will be looked after. So, anyway, so there's just a few thoughts on the verse, on the Bhagavatam verse that we're talking about there, and no matter what, Krishna will look after us. So strike while the iron is hot. If we have any sense of trying to surrender to Krishna or love of Krishna, or want to perform devotional service, bhakti yoga, go for it, grab it with both arms, and never let go, never ever let go. Keep on trying no matter what, and Krishna will look after us. Srimad-Bhagavatam ki jai. Hare Krishna.